The name Nero echoes through history. It whispers of madness, it screams of tyranny. For centuries, he has been the poster boy for imperial insanity, a ruler whose name is forever linked with cruelty and chaos. He was the emperor who, legend says, fiddled while his city burned. A man who turned the suffering of others into a public spectacle. He was the son of a noble family raised in the heart of Roman power, yet his reign would become a dark chapter in the empire's story. The tales of his life are so wild, so shocking, they feel more like fiction than fact. But this was no story. This was Rome, and Nero was its master. Ancient historians painted a terrifying picture. They wrote of an emperor who craved the spotlight more than he craved justice. An artist who saw his empire as a stage for his own twisted performances. Suetonius, Tacitus, Cassius Dio. These primary sources leave little room for doubt. They tell of a man who descended into paranoia and depravity, eliminating anyone who stood in his way. His story is a chilling reminder that absolute power can corrupt absolutely. It is a journey into the mind of a ruler who broke every rule, defied every tradition, and left a legacy of fear and fascination that endures to this day. Imagine the city of Rome, the centre of the known world. Marble temples, bustling forums, unparalleled power. Now imagine that city in the hands of a man who saw it as his personal playground. A man whose whims could mean life or death for millions. The citizens of Rome lived under this shadow. They watched as their emperor's behaviour grew more and more erratic. They heard the rumours spreading from inside the palace walls. Lavish parties that descended into chaos. Strange artistic obsessions. A growing darkness within the heart of their leader. This was the reality of living under Nero's rule. This essay will pull back the curtain on the insane reign of Nero. We will journey back to the heart of the Roman Empire to witness his rise and his spectacular fall. We will explore the boy who became a tyrant, the artist who became a monster. We will investigate the shocking acts that defined his time in power. The mysterious Great Fire of Rome, the brutal persecution of his enemies. Prepare to enter a world of political intrigue, staggering luxury, unimaginable cruelty. This is the story of Rome's wildest emperor, a man whose madness changed the course of history forever. Before the madness, there was a glimmer of hope. When Nero, Claudius Caesar, Augustus Germanicus ascended to the throne in 54 AD, he was just a boy. At 17, he was young, handsome, and charismatic. The people of Rome were optimistic. The previous emperor, Claudius, had been old and awkward. Nero was a breath of fresh air. He was a descendant of the great Augustus, the founder of the Roman Empire. His bloodline was impeccable. In his early speeches, he promised a return to the values of the Republic. Justice, moderation, respect for the Senate. It seemed as though a golden age was about to dawn. During the first 5 years of his reign, known as the Quinquennium Neronis, things were surprisingly good. Agrippina the Younger, Seneca, Sextus Afranius Burrus. Together they guided the young emperor. They helped him make sensible decisions. Taxes were reformed, legal processes were improved. The Senate regained some authority. For a brief moment it appeared that Nero could become one of Rome's greatest emperors. The city prospered. The people were content. Behind the scenes, however, a storm was brewing. The harmony between Nero's advisors was fragile. Agrippina was fiercely ambitious. She had schemed and plotted to put her son on the throne. She had no intention of fading into the background. She saw herself as a co-ruler, an empress in her own right. Her face even appeared alongside Nero's on early coins. But Nero, encouraged by Seneca and Burrus, began to resent her interference. He was the emperor, not her. He wanted to be his own man, free from his mother's suffocating control. The tension was unbearable. A power struggle was inevitable. Nero started to push back against Agrippina's influence. He ignored her advice. He excluded her from political meetings. He began to indulge his passions: music, poetry, chariot racing. Seneca and Burrus tried to manage him. They tried to keep the emperor happy. They tried to keep the empire stable. But the cracks were beginning to show. The promise of a golden age was starting to fade, replaced by a growing sense of unease. The first true sign of the darkness to come was a shocking act of family betrayal. The power struggle between Nero and his mother, Agrippina, reached a terrifying climax. Nero could no longer tolerate her ambition or her criticism. He saw her as a threat to his absolute authority. In 59 AD, he decided she had to go, permanently. What followed was a series of bizarre and horrifying attempts on her life. First, he tried to poison her, but Agrippina, ever suspicious, had built up an immunity by taking small doses over the years. The plan failed, and Nero's paranoia only grew deeper. His next attempt was even more elaborate and sinister. He commissioned a special collapsible boat designed to fall apart at sea. He invited his mother to a dinner party at his villa in Baiae, a coastal resort. Afterwards, he bid her a warm and affectionate farewell as she boarded the trick boat for her journey home. As the vessel sailed across the calm waters of the bay, the mechanism was triggered. The roof collapsed and the boat began to sink. But Agrippina was a strong swimmer. She managed to escape the wreckage and swim to shore, surviving yet again. The failure of this theatrical plot sent Nero into a panic. Now there was no turning back. His intentions were exposed. Fearing his mother's inevitable retaliation, Nero abandoned all subtlety.
He sent assassins to her villa. They found her in her bedroom, defiant to the very end. According to the historian Tacitus, she faced her killers and, pointing to her womb, declared, "Strike here!"
She knew it was the womb that had borne the monster who now sought to destroy her. Her death sent a shockwave through Rome. An emperor had murdered his own mother. The sacred bond between parent and child had been broken by the man who was supposed to be the father of his people. This single, horrific act was the point of no return. It was the moment the mask of the benevolent ruler fell away, revealing the tyrant beneath. With his mother gone, Burrus and Seneca losing their influence, there was no one left to restrain him. The unraveling of Nero had begun. He was now free to indulge his every whim, no matter how strange or depraved. The emperor's descent into madness was no longer a private struggle fought within the palace walls. It was about to spill out into the open for all of Rome to see. The city was on the brink of a new, terrifying era.